Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, coming to you somewhere deep in the heart of American flyover country, an undisclosed location. We're under the radar, but definitely over the top. And helping me today, a lady who's always over the top, Jenny Constantine, the one, the only. Jenny, it's been way too long. How the heck are you, young lady?
I'm great. It has been too long. I feel like I've been badgering you to do a show, and then I'm always the one that's like, oh, next time, next time.
Right, right. You badger, but then you procrastinate. So it's the
Yeah,
badger procrastinate cycle.
absolutely. But
But
I'm
we've
doing,
broken it, and here we are.
and here we are, and there's no telling where this conversation is going to go.
There isn't. And can I throw you a curveball right off the bat?
Sure.
And I think that you're a good person to hit with this because if you see behind me, I've got a picture of lovely South Florida.
Oh yeah, it is. I thought it looked familiar.
And I spent some time down there last year in lovely South Florida. And there
Mhm.
was an event that occurred sometime last year that I was not a part of that is coming to light today where several individuals, including Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, have been caught up in, I guess, what they call the prostitution sting.
Yes.
So these men were visiting or frequenting I call them rub and tugs. I'm not sure what the real word for them is, but a place where you go in and you have a little massage and they do the happy endings. And it was a front for prostitution.
Sure.
And he got caught there, or at least he's accused. No one's been convicted yet. And the sad part is that here's the thing about it. I've got a weird life, Jenny. I talked to a lot of people from across the different spectrums back when I was a pastor, even now, do a lot of counseling, talk to a lot of different people. And I have had over the years, I won't say many, but I've had a number of individuals, both females and males, that are um, independent entrepreneurs in the personal services industry. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
And they have been able to make themselves a great life, work their own hours,
Mhm.
leveraging the commodities that are exclusively theirs to people that want to take advantage of those commodities. And they've built themselves some really good lives by so doing. However, you've got the other side of the spectrum where Mr. Kraft walked into a shop that was populated by and large by women that are there on a deal with the devil. They're in impoverished nations, and they're offered a deal to come to America if they'll work in these places for X number of years. And it's really slave labor, horrible conditions, and many of them never make it out. They're beaten, they're raped, all kinds of horrific things happen. And all the libtards are just yelling and screaming and piling on to Mr. Kraft, which, he deserves it. But what they're not talking about is these shops are filled with ladies that are getting these deals with the devil. And guess where they're pouring in through, Lady Jennifer Constantine? The southern border among the female trafficking, the human trafficking. So we got to get it right. Let's get it all the way right. What do you say about all that?
Well, you really hit the nail on the head with the whole thing. And the first thing that stands out to me, and I just posted that headline within the past hour. I'm really pleased to see that it's happening. But already, and I predicted that this would happen, is that the media really loves to manipulate the verbiage. So they use the term prostitution, and and I'll get to my views on prostitution in just a second. But it's never just prostitution with these people in the way that, you and I and the average person would understand it. Okay. So it certainly does happen. Men and women pay for sex. They have their reasons, whatever the case may be. And it's relatively normal. Okay. Within the realms of what average people consider to be normal. Okay.
So does it sometimes approach the victimless crime that some people try to characterize it as?
Right. Well, I really think that that's the way that people that are not ready to deal with this information, that's the way they're initially going to digest this, is be like,
Gotcha.
oh, it's just prostituted Patriots guy. He's a good old boy. His wife's been dead for years. He's almost 100 and it's just prostitution. Okay. It's not just prostitution. And while I do believe that there may actually someday be a world for adult consensual sex work, that we can't actually have that right now because sex work is run by, I mean, there's 10 rungs up the ladder. There is no safe sex work these days because there's always some shadowy figure in the back, behind all of it that, we have to cut the whole thing out. We can't just have a little bit. We have to just cut the whole thing out. And then maybe in the future, because here's the thing, prostitution is the oldest profession on the planet.
Right.
It's a commodity, what are we going to do about it? The problem really remains that it's not consensual. It is the underbelly of society is very much runs on the back of human trafficking. And unfortunately, most of the people that are trafficked in this world are under the age of 18. So they can't consent to it legally. They can't consent to it with their sovereignty. And so, it's children. That's what we're really talking about here. So, they want to get ahead of the narrative a little bit by using verbiage like prostitution. It's human trafficking. And I guarantee you that as we chip away the layers of this ugly monster, we're going to see that, the vices of these people, it's not just a man having sex with another woman for money. He's a rich guy. He can have sex with anybody he wants to have sex with. There's plenty of women that are willing to open their legs for a guy that has enough cash. Okay. And we don't call that prostitution. We just call it, a gold digging, whatever. But
what's the term? Sugar daddies, right?
Sugar daddy, whatever it is. Okay. So whatever. But these people, their vices are not other consenting adults. These people, their vices are children. They are completely desensitized. They're into stuff that you and I couldn't even imagine. It's not remotely sexy to us. And so this is really what people are going to have a hard time digesting, as a collective. And I've really reached my breaking point. I'm not the shoulder to cry on. I don't care if people can't take it because it's not about them and their feelings, right? It's about reality and dealing.
Jenny, it sounds like your give a damn finally busted.
Oh, I don't. My give a damn busted a long time ago.
Mine too. It's completely in shambles. So what do you say? I guess the 3 or 4 or 5 people I've talked to over 35 years, they may not even have it as well as they think they do. And if they do, they're definitely the exceptions in a dark, dark, ugly, horrific world.
Right. I mean, listen, anybody can carve out a little corner of their world and their little universe. And within the confines of their day-to-day activities, they can make themselves feel okay about it for the sake of survival, for the sake of paying the bills, and just generally trying to justify your life on earth, right? But when we zoom all the way out, take a bird's eye view, the whole thing is a mess. It's just a big, disgusting mess, the likes of which we're only now starting to scratch the surface. But I've already seen it. People are like, oh, it's just a little bit of prostitution, and who, give the guy a break. And it's like the cognitive dissonance is so real with these people that it's just, I don't even care anymore.
Imagine that you were a 13-year-old girl. I never was, but most of us know a 12 or a 13-year-old girl. Imagine you're a 12 or a 13-year-old girl in some impoverished nation, and some guy comes up to you and either just grabs you forcibly or offers you a bargain to come to America if you will work in a sex factory for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever. And like Jenny's saying, it's not Pretty Woman. It's not anything like that at all.
There's no Richard Gere at the end of the day.
There is no Richard Gere. That's for damn sure. And they take you, or they smuggle you across most of the time, the majority of the time, at least, to the U.S. southern border. Well, Jeff, they're Asians. Are you that simple and unsophisticated that you don't think that they take Asians through the southern border? Come on, man. And it's human trafficking. It is an emergency. And all of these liberals and the Pelosi's and the Schumers, it's not an emergency. There's nothing going on. Jenny, why do they want to defend the right of these human traffickers and the right of these drug peddlers and the right of these smugglers to keep pouring over our southern border?
Well, it's actually quite simple. These groups of people we're talking about, MS-13, coyotes as they're known, these smugglers, drug smugglers, human traffickers, they are the surface, they are the sort of ground troops or the surface forces of a much deeper malevolent force. Okay, so these people vote, okay, they have power in numbers, they're violent, they are pretty much animalistic in their way of thinking and doing and being. And this is certainly not in any way a racist statement. Okay. This is all statistically speaking. People have this idea in their heads that everybody coming up through the southern border is simply they're all Mexicans, or they're all Venezuelans, or they're all, that's not the case at all.
Not even close.
Not even close. I don't have an exact number for you, but there's a significant percentage of people that are coming up through the southern border that are from Middle Eastern countries. Yep. They're not just South American or Central American people. And so this is something that everybody wants to just conveniently ignore. And it's like, if there's no vetting process, I mean, it's just asinine. And it's very obvious to me and anybody else paying attention that the reason why the left and the DNC and their cronies are so adamant about keeping security very lax at the border is because these are their people. This is their group. These are the people that back them and support them. And they're also their horde. Okay, horde, HORDE. They're the mob. They're the group, and they need these numbers. They need this brawn and this muscle on the ground in order to perpetuate the torture, the violence, the rape, the murder, the trafficking. It's just, these are their people. So,
So the Pelosi Schumer crowd at the end of the day doesn't really care. And this is just the first layer of the onion. They don't really care if these girls are raped, beaten, treated horribly, treated terribly, as long as the girls and the people that bring them in continue to vote Democratic.
Absolutely. And even if they don't vote, even if they end up not voting, the Pelosi's and the Schumers and the Kamala Harrises of this world are going to rig all of the elections and just start to pull people out of thin air and pull names out of thin air. Like, I think something like a couple million dead people voted, in the this last election we had.
And amazingly, Jenny, over 96% of them voted Democratic.
Amazing. Who unbelievable.
Dead people love Hillary.
Dead people love Hillary. Oh my God. And so we're really not writing the book here. This is all stuff that we've talked about a lot over the past couple of years. But I am deeply to my core satisfied to see the discomfort and the disgust of the people that are around me in my community. Because while they're just now starting to look, since I've known about it and I've been jumping up and down, breaking my back, trying to get people to pay attention. Now they want to cry on my shoulder. And I've been hardened by this process. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I'm right for that, but I'm being honest and I'm saying, I don't care. Like, go over there with your feelings, because I've been trying to tell you, and like, it's painful. It's just been painful. And people need to, get in line, go see a shrink if you can't handle it.
Yeah. And what's the deeper layers of the onion, Jenny, where at the top we have the voting and the Democrats having to import their base to keep them in power. But what's really behind the making sure that Pelosi gets to stay in power for 35 years instead of 31 years? What's really going on in that next layer of the onion?
Well, I tend to believe that American politics really branch out in a very tentacular fashion all across the world.
What a great word.
On an interplanetary level as well. There's no doubt in my mind that this shadow government or these shadow aspects of the planet are conducting interdimensional slave trade. I've talked a little bit about that before, but I would say that the real root of this currently is the Vatican. It's Rome. It's places like London and Paris. Silicon Valley is involved in this as well with the technology. I don't know if you saw this recently, but the Pope, I believe this article came out last week. The Pope is teaming up, or Vatican City rather, is teaming up with Microsoft to fuse some kind of AI. So here's AI over here, friendly AI that we love so much, and Roman Catholicism. So these two things are going to come together, and it's scary, but at the same time, I don't fear it, because I just feel like they're not going to be successful. with this, whatever it is that they're trying to do. But I'd like to ask you, how do you feel about that team up, Microsoft and the Pope himself? What a
How about that? Let me address something that I wrote down that you just connected a dot for me on. I wrote a book some time back about Elvis Presley and Paul McCartney suffering MK Ultra mind control, Tavistock mind control, and I became convinced through that investigation that McCartney specifically was subjected to something I've never heard anybody else but you say until right now: interdimensional or temporal torture. That's how Paul McCartney had physical changes from the guy they say was Paul and died, and now this new guy's not Paul. That's not what happened. They actually put this guy through temporal torture, which warped him, changed him physically. It is the same guy. That is not a fall. It is the same dude. And this temporal torture is possible through the work and the discoveries made in your interdimensional slave trade. And the reason McCartney was subject to it is because he was getting too close to making too many people happy, free, excited, and sovereign. So they had to give him a little trip to the future that he was trying to talk about. And it's true, Jenny. I know it sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I'm convinced not only is there temporal torture or temporal interrogation, maybe is a better word, there is also this interdimensional slave trade and human trafficking. Now, for the people that think we've absolutely lost our minds, what do you say to those people?
I mean, we just, eventually everybody will come to this place of knowing, even if it takes them a few more incarnations. It's true. Truth is truth. And there's no way around it. You can live in the dark. That's your choice. If you're not ready to deal with it, that's fine. But that's not my life path. That's not your life path. We're here now. We've done enough to where we don't have to wait anymore. We're going to just go ahead and share. But that's really interesting. I didn't know that kind of jargon was used by Paul McCartney. Why am I thinking John Lennon?
Well, John Lennon was, of course, his co-founder of the Beatles. It was Lennon, McCartney, Harrison, and Ringo Starr were the Beatles. And I'm not a big fan either. So
no, I went to school. So I don't know if I've spoken about this. I did attend Marymount International School in Rome, Italy, while my father had an assignment at the U.S. Embassy there. He was the regional security officer. And so I had frequent field trips to the Vatican. We had a Roman Catholic mass every other week. It was pretty ridiculous. But anyway, I went to school with a girl. She was actually one of my best friends. I only lost touch with her a few years ago, but her name's Ruby. And she was the daughter, of course, of a model. Her father was a director and a writer. Her stepfather was an Italian screenwriter, producer, director. They all are writers.
That ties right back into the Beatles song Ruby Tuesday, by the way. So
they both girls. So she also had a sister named Tallulah. Ruby and Tallulah were both named after Beatles related things. There was a Tallulah. She was named after an elephant that was like apparently a pet for somebody in the band or something like that. But in any case, her uncle, her maternal aunt was married to Ringo Starr.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was that. I have stories about that school.
Tentacular is exactly what it is, and it's a great question. I didn't mean to dodge your question. What do I feel about the Pope and Microsoft / AI joining up with each other, at least talking about it? I hadn't heard about it, so you're catching me off guard. But really, it's if you've got the Roman Catholics and you've got AI, it's not a matter of if they're going to work together. It's a matter of when. I guess at first glance, I'm a little bit surprised that they're so open and out with it. I thought it'd be more clandestine.
Right. Well, that's what I thought too for a while, but really, I think it's very telling of the times that it's sort of green light go right now. So that the time of waiting and the time of strategically planning and leading up to the great reveal, it's over. The great reveal it's now. Okay. You have mainstream actresses and actors and comedians talking about eating fetuses and using the foreskin of infant children as a means of youthful, cosmetic procedures, things like that. So they're not
Jenny, even back in my day where they had that second the first movie, what was it called with Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro? Jack Talk Thai, real good. Meet the Parents.
Parents.
The second one, and you do this to me all the time. You say things that just click, and I'm like, the second one, there was this whole big running joke about Barbara Streisand having kept Ben Stiller's foreskin, and they're talking about it and holding it, and it falls into that stuff, where you put it in the fondue or whatever it is, and somebody ends up eating it. See, they're preparing us for this stuff.
Well, they make joke of it. Comedy Central is an absolute hive of just the most putrid filth that Hollywood is pumping out right now. They love to use comedy as a way to cover up their disease, which is pedophilia. Yep. I shouldn't even call it a disease or a disorder. They're this parasitic tendency.
Jenny, I did stand up for about a year and a half and was becoming very successful at it. And I didn't see any of that, but there was something that told me I had to get the hell out of it. It just felt creepy. It almost felt like when I would go into the club, have a great set, everything was perfect, getting paid, but I could almost feel like the black goo oozing up my body. So it really is. And again, you do it again. You hit on something that I've felt and experienced, and you've actually put words to something that I knew intuitively. Thank you again, Jenny Constantine.
Oh, sure. My pleasure.
But if this is the stuff they're showing us, Jenny, what's really going on behind the scenes that they're not showing us? How far advanced is it?
Oh, it's so advanced. I mean, they're really, I don't really have the vocabulary. I fall short. And this actually happens to me quite a bit in readings that I do with my clients, is that I can feel something on a cellular level. It feels more like a memory than anything else. But to the process of trying to articulate it and find words that really fit what it is that I'm detecting, it's a constant challenge. So I'm always trying to push myself with, my words and the way I'm communicating information. But really, if we were to scale all the way down, kind of on that atomic level, it would be a lot clearer to people that the entire system is it's just so much bigger. We're teeny tiny little specks. Okay. And I know that may seem like a really defeatist kind of attitude. And that's not to say that, it's just, if people really knew how long it's been hidden and the effort and the funding and the energy put into keeping the bigger picture a secret, I really think the hospitals would start overflowing with people that are just checking themselves in left and right because they just can't, they hit a wall and they say, they make some kind of a decision on that soul level. I'm going to check out from my vessel right now because this is just overwhelming. And if that's what people need to do, that's what they need to do. That's not my choice.
Yeah, even cognitive dissonance has its limits. I mean, you can get so confronted and so smashed and so crushed by reality that you can no longer just throw it into that cognitive dissonance. It actually breaks through and you have to deal with it. And that's why a lot of people just shut down. A lot of people check out. I'm not sure what the suicide statistics look like recently, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they're going up.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I think that's something we're going to see. I think we'll also see a lot of the elite as they're known.
Just going to say that.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot more sudden illnesses and things like that. People are just going to start checking out. I do wonder at times if these people are actually dying or if they are simply, transferring their consciousness from one shell to another. Then there's the whole Elysium concept that I've been thinking a lot about.
Tell us what that is, Jenny. A lot of people don't know what you're talking about.
Sure. So Elysium, just as a word, it's been used a lot over the course of time. It's just a term used for a kind of utopian world, or the world that comes after, or the safe haven, the other place. And so I tend to think that a lot of these stars that have been taken, a couple examples that come to mind. Now, this really is just a theory because I have alternate theories on these people. But one of them is that people like Prince, David Bowie, Chris Cornell. I feel like it looked like a suicide or a death, a sudden death, perhaps to get people like myself that think that they were about to speak out on human trafficking or speak out on a certain thing, maybe to get us to think, oh, look, they did a sacrifice. Oh, look, they took so-and-so out because he knew too much.
Same thing with Elvis.
Right.
He was about to break loose some stuff.
Right. Or so they want us to believe, right?
Oh, that's a good point. I have inside information on Elvis. I think he was going to, but it could just be part of the game. We like to think we're big cogs and big wheels, but we're really not.
No. But how do you feel about the idea that kind of upon entry into these secret societies, like a lot of these big stars have, the kinds of societies we really don't have names for.
Very well said.
I wish nobody was calling me right now. So unnecessary. I don't answer my phone anyways, but how do you feel about, these people kind of fulfilling their contracts and they agree to die in the public eye, except the name lives on forever, which we know in their circles, real immortality isn't about physical life. It's as long as the people are saying your name.
And let's think about that in a dollars and cents way, Jenny. We'll talk about Elvis Presley because I brought his name up. Elvis Presley, and this is going to be the same with Michael Jackson, same with Prince. Those brothers have made a lot more money dead than they made breathing.
Yes.
And they're not collecting it anymore. They're not getting their cut. So they're Elvis, Prince, Michael, Cornell, all of them, we could go down their list. Now they're pure profit centers, Jenny, and we don't have to worry about them growing a conscience and saying something they're not supposed to say. We don't have to worry about them being Gerald Ford and telling us about nuclear codes of recalling and self-destructing nuclear weapons. We don't have to worry about them anymore. We've established them as a super profitable, self-perpetuating business. Now they can either be killed or disappear or go wherever, grow a beard and move to Bermuda. But they have now done their job. They've served their purpose, and they'll keep serving their purpose as a perpetual ATM machine for those that have the PIN number.
Sure. Isn't that sad?
Wow, I never thought of that. That's powerful stuff, Jenny.
It's, they love their.
Do you still have a channel and throw out your website and your channel so people can, I know they're saying, how do we get a hold of this girl?
Sure. I do have a channel, Jenny Constantine. I used to go by Jenny Moonstone, and I just decided to use my last name, which is Constantine. I think it's a powerful name.
It is.
So yeah, my YouTube channel is Jenny Constantine, but my website is jennymoonstone.com. That's where you can find me to book sessions. I also have a lot of content that I've done with Heidi Vandenberg over on her channel, Channel 27. So go over there and subscribe to her. I actually have a couple dates in mind that I'd like to get Heidi's views on in terms of like what the collective atmosphere is going to be here in the near future, relatively near future. So 2020, 2022. I think things are going to heat up to a level that is just, it's so like cosmically exciting in the sense, just as I said, cosmically exciting.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, I didn't do that on purpose.
That's funny. No, but don't you feel it like you just yesterday? And I love
Jenny, there's no truth to the rumor that Jenny Moonstone had a walk-in and now it's Jenny Constantine.
No. No, it's been me the whole time. Sorry to disappoint. But, just yesterday you were talking about how this place is crowded, right? And I say that all the time. I'm always saying, oh my God, it's loud in here. It's like there's just so much taking place around us. And the way that, I don't know if your audience or yourself subscribe to the concept of fractals, that really space and time is just kind of going in on itself. And the farther down you go, it's a world within a world within a world within a world.
It's just a big swirling torus, isn't it?
Yeah. And so all around us, there are life forms and thought forms constantly surrounding us that have a vested interest in what's playing out on this timeline right now. So that's
do they have a vested interest, Jenny?
I believe absolutely. I absolutely believe it.
So their give a dams are not busted in relation to us.
No. And some of it, a lot of people love to glorify interactions with the ETs. like the Pleiadians is a really good example, or the Arcturians. That's all fine.
Don't forget the blue chicken people. What are they called? The blue avians.
The blue avians. Yeah, I just, the glorification of interacting with any ET race, I think is problematic, only because people are not ready. It's not healthy for people to expect benevolent interactions with any ET races, because anybody that is taking us, abducting us, fiddling with our DNA, sure, they might like us, they might want us to do okay, but they have their own agenda regardless, or they wouldn't be here. They have some kind of interest. Wow. I believe that the human race and the many races that we are right here on the surface populations, there's so many. We're a commodity. We're prisoners of war. We're treasures of war. And there are empirical populations that are warring for us as we speak.
And they've been setting us up with the benevolent ET thing ever since ET came and played around with Drew Barrymore and said, ET phone home. They're not benevolent. They're not our friends. They're not here to help us.
They're not. And I really want people to get that, because with the new age pop culture crap that's going around, and I'm so defensive about it, because especially people my age group, they think it's so cool, oh, let's make contact. Oh, there's a ship, wave. It's like, get away from the ships, you idiot. Like, run in the other direction, put your shields up. It's not fun and games. Okay. And I think I talked about it recently. What? You okay?
I was just thinking, not too long ago, I was involved in a little event that I like to call Fiasco in the Desert. And this stupid rumor got started, and we can speculate on how it got started, that we were all going out there because there was going to be this ship and we were all going to greet these people. And I said, listen, Richard Pryor came to my mind. If I see an alien, I'll shoot him in the ass. Yeah, I don't want to be nice to them. They're not coming to welcome us and to be happy with us. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple 300 people that would have been welcomed. Open arm, come on, ET, come over here, let me pat your little head. People are just so stupid and so gullible. I thought the Pentecostals were the dumbest people and most gullible people on planet Earth. But the New Agers, the New Ragers, they got nothing. The Pentecostals got nothing on us.
Isn't it the worst? It's just words. I've seen pictures from some of these conferences of women my age holding baby dolls of gray aliens and like lovingly holding it and looking at it and like posing. Like, are you insane? This is because interplanetary slave rings and interbreeding hybridization programs are so real. This is a real thing. Human women like myself have been taken and fetuses implanted with no consent, mind you, into these.
That sounds just like Jesus, the baby Jesus.
Doesn't it? It's a little reminiscent. I feel like we've heard this story before.
And again, I'm going to repeat Richard Pryor's statement. If I see an alien, I'm going to shoot him in the ass.
Right, exactly. Shoot it with whatever you've got, right? Listen, I made my mark a long time ago with these creatures. Don't come around my house. Don't come around my space. Don't talk to my kids. Don't talk to my husband. Don't stay away. I said, and there's also this.
And it's amazing, Jenny. We don't get bothered by them because they know we'll go Richard Pryor on them.
Yeah, shoot him in the ass.
Absolutely.
I don't mess with it. It's so ridiculous. There's also this idea, like, so many people I talk to, they're like, I just want to go home. I just want to get out of here. Like, someone come take me away. I don't agree with that at all, because planet Earth is a gem.
But what about Jesus? He's coming back to save us, Jenny. I talk about plastic Jesus all the time. And there's a reason I talk about this. I don't know if you've seen this, Jenny. Let me show you this real quickly. This is my website, desktop number 1, share. This is my website. And who's on my website front and center but alien plastic Jesus? Wow. Folks, you got to get ready. You got to understand, and you got to realize. And if you want to, shameless plug, maximize your life, go ahead and click on the Mistech link or the Focus Life Force Energy link. It's not going to make you smarter. It's not going to make you more spiritual, but it will create a spiritual environment and frequency and modality that will enable you to operate at your highest proficiency, give you access to your highest self. But this is the guy that they're preparing us for, ladies and gentlemen. You got to get ready.
Mm-hmm.
End of shameless plug.
No, I love it. It's great. But I just, there's no, this is what I want to say to people. If ships all start landing on the earth tomorrow, don't use your third eye and all this bogus stuff about use your third eye and open up your chakras and all that. I say no to that. And really listen with your heart. I know that sounds so cliche, but people need to learn how to translate information through the heart instead of through the mind.
Oh, Jenny, that is so powerful. My son just said that to me about a month ago, and it's been resonating in my dome ever since.
That's funny. Yeah, there's something to it. I mean, think about how easily the network of the nerve endings and the way that the brain works and the spine and the stem, all of that, when I see that, to me, that looks like some kind of it looks like a motherboard. It's no different than any kind of system that can be hijacked by somebody that has the code or has, the way to kind of ride that neural network, right? The heart, to the best of my knowledge, is the one device that the elite, the cabal, whatever, the grays, whatever you want to call them, they have not been able to replicate to perfection the human heart, because the human heart, in my opinion, is where the spirit, the immortal spirit, is stored, not the brain, not the mind.
Absolutely.
And so that's why this is a weapon. I feel like the human heart is a weapon, and it's the one weapon that they don't have a real answer for. Sure, they can.
Jenny, please say that whole sentence over again, starting with "you believe the human heart."
Okay, so God, you're gonna make me backtrack my words. I believe that the human heart is a weapon, and it is the most advanced weapon in this quadrant, this part of the universe. And the fact that they haven't been able to replicate it has everything to do with the fact that those spirit codes, that the immortal spirit that is seated in the heart, is not something that any artificial intelligence or even any advanced being can really clone. They can't duplicate that.
That's why Rex always laughs at me, says I'm always so optimistic, because the more Rex finds all these horrible things that they're trying to do to us, I see that they're all attempts to duplicate what we have internally, naturally. And my take is that they're trying to duplicate this powerful weapon because they know how powerful it is, and they can't duplicate it. And it inspires me because I know that I believe we'll wake up and realize we're divine, we're sovereign, we're free, and we're powerful before they will be able to come even close to duplicating what we have. That's why, Jenny, I remain optimistic that we're not going to lose. We're not going to be taken down. I remain optimistic we're going to win, because we've got the real deal that they're trying to copy, and we're going to find out and learn to use it before they're going to learn to copy it.
I agree with you. And I don't think it's naive of us at all, because if there's anything I'm not, it's naive. Okay. I like to, sometimes I'm too trusting, but that's another issue altogether. But, experience and my cellular memory really validates for me that the time really is now, and that they are pulling out all the stops, because that's how desperate times are.
I've got it written on my board. They're running out of time, and they know it.
They're at time's up. Time's up. TikTok and the
TikTok MRFers.
The beast machine. Okay, so the 666 beast machine, then the Wi-Fi, the whole the grid or whatever. Yep. It's really funny that right now at this juncture in Earth's timeline, we have the Pope, which really is. The Vatican City, Rome, is the epicenter of evil on this planet. That's really.
And I've been there too, Jenny, and you can feel it, can't you? You can feel it when you walk in the place.
Every staff member, all of the teachers that worked at Marymount International School in Rome. Here's something funny. The prerequisite, they absolutely everybody before you got hired as a teacher there, you have had to have gone to Harvard.
It's a fine Jesuit institution, unless I'm incorrect.
No, that's it.
Yeah,
that was it. And I had a pretty hard time there because I stuck out like a sore thumb. I can only
imagine.
It was a mess. Oh my God, Jeff, it was a mess. it was bad. My parent, like we had to leave. So my dad had to take, he was supposed to do a 3-year assignment, but he was given the opportunity to take a position at the International Law Enforcement Academy in Budapest in Hungary. And so we left a year early because I was
beautiful city, isn't it?
Beautiful. And it's so much greater than Rome.
Absolutely.
Honestly, Rome was a mess. The Italian countryside is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Tuscany and
the Italian people outside of Rome are wonderful.
And they hate the Romans.
They do.
There's a coat of arms, and you'll see it around every corner in the city of Rome because they're like any metropolis. They're very proud people. The Romans love their city, but it's the coat of arms that says SPQR. And the everybody outside of Rome would make fun of that and say "Sono porchi questi Romani," which means Romans are pigs. All Romans. So even within their own country, they're hated. And I shouldn't talk crap about Romans because there are people that have been born and raised in Rome that are actively working against the church and crown. So that's not to generalize, but like anybody, like I have a problem with big city New Yorkers that think that, their cities are just the epicenter of the universe. And
Londoners, much the same.
Yeah. And so Vatican City, like everybody, whenever we would go there, my peers and everybody would be so in awe. And, the Sistine Chapel, while it's quite a feat of work and there's more money in that one little patch of earth than probably the entire nation, the entire continent. To me, it was such fodder, and it smelled stale, it was darkly lit, and I felt gross. I felt
physically ill every time I went in there, Jenny. Physically ill.
It's just disgusting, and they worship, all of their relics are flesh and bones and pieces of carcasses.
Isn't that interesting?
I think it's interesting too. They worship death.
Interesting. They worship death.
They do. They're a death cult.
So how important is our DNA, Jenny?
Oh God, I think it's the most important. I'm so glad you brought it up. It's just a great show you did yesterday. I'm so fascinated by the different classes of men, and
Well, since we did talk about Elvis earlier, I'll say, well, thank you very much.
Oh, Elvis! I wonder what he would have to say about everything.
I know. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
But anyway, back to our DNA.
Yeah. So as I'm sure a lot of your audience has heard, 23andMe, is up there with Ancestry.com, is like the newest, latest, and greatest trend in learning about your ancestry. Heidi Vandenberg had hers done, and we had a really good time going over all of the different it's just crazy the things that they tell you. Like in my mind, the kind of earwax I have wouldn't even be a question, yet they include that in the report. But really, it's fascinating. Like the detail, it's just fascinating. But then just a few weeks ago, I read an article and I sent you the link to it.
You did.
23andMe. Okay. We all think that they're just an ancestry service.
Oh, it's fun. You get it for Christmas and you learn about yourself and your coat of arms and everybody's happy.
And you're right. And I mean, I can see a lot of great uses. People now really can track their stories. They know about their health, this, and that. But now 23andMe is in their not so subtle, fashion. They're like, oh, by the way, we're going to become a pharmaceutical company.
And it's funny, Jenny, because I remember back in the day, I almost got involved with this. There was a company that was backed by Donald Trump back in the day before he was a politician. And their whole catch was, we're going to do your DNA and we're going to give you the perfect food and supplementation schedule based for your DNA.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't it to you? The first thing that I think of now are, so how do I put this? I feel like it's running very parallel to this blatant push for recruitment in all branches of the military. I'm married to a veteran. I have a lot of friends who are veterans as well, and they've all noticed in their time in their service and whatnot, whenever we are on the brink of some kind of new theater of war somewhere in the country, there is this blatant push for recruitment. So they offer new bonuses new benefits, get your stuff now. You know, we need people. So I've noticed this blatant push for recruitment in all of the branches of the military run very, very parallel to this new trend in ancestry and genetic mapping. And so your show yesterday really made me think about it, is that I feel what this is just some grand inventory of the stock of the surface population and a kind of recruitment strategy. They want to know who people are. They want to know who's on the surface, who would be a good candidate to take off world and sell into the slave trades. And I know that seems extreme, very extreme, and that's not to perpetuate fear porn. I just want people to know what they're up against. This is another fact. Before he died, William Powaselic, totally just butchered his name, but he was a retired Air Force captain, Air Force official. He had all kinds of experience in computer programming. He was a very notable person, and I'm not doing him any justice right now, giving anybody his background. I'm just not doing it right. But anybody can go search it. I'm going to come back and give the name here, probably in the comments.
Okay.
But he revealed that this company, Siemens, everybody knows Siemens, right? I believe they're a Swiss company.
Yep.
They
SIEMENS.
Yes, SIEMENS. They
or EI, but yeah.
SIE.
SIE, you're right.
Yeah. They branched off real quick. They did it with a quickness, and they created a company that solely created billions, not millions, billions of RFID chips, of which you could track from space. They created billions of chips, and after the creation and the sale of these chips, everything disappeared. Chips disappeared, and the company disappeared, and nobody ever talked about it again.
Where are the chips?
I believe, and many other people believe, that these chips were implanted into human beings or beings and shuffled right off world into their various corners of the interplanetary web that we have here. You can call it Mars. You could call it whatever you want to call it. It really remains to be seen or confirmed the names of these locations or the nature of these locations. But I think people really need to understand that we are just a world that runs parallel to other worlds. And there are gateways, there are doors, and they utilize the human system. You don't actually need all this stuff. People are like, how do you cross over? How do you get to the next dimension?
Wow. Well,
you might not know, and I might not know, but they sure as hell know. And the children are the best means with which to get there. So that's what they do.
Let me throw this at you, Jenny. And it just came back to me during the Reagan years. Now again, during the Trump years, we're hearing we've got to rebuild our military. We need more recruitment. We need a bigger Air Force. We need a bigger Navy. We need a stronger Army. And everybody thinks, oh, we need more guns and we need more planes. We need more ships. We need more tanks. But on every new plane, on every new ship, on every new tank, there's some dudes and some chicks in there running that thing. And what you don't understand in the military, and this is just starting to come into my brain, I spent 6 years in the United States Air Force. And Jenny, well, you're married to a veteran, but people that aren't in the military or that have never had any association with the military don't understand. Remember the little yellow book about this size that you've always got to have on? It's called your shot record. And dude, I'm telling you, this is a book, and I probably went through 20 of them in 6 years. You get so many shots, and you get so many lotions and potions. They're bringing in as many people as they can. They're making a list. They're checking it twice. They're trying to find out something. They're not just looking for the best airplane pilots or the best airplane mechanics or the best guys that can carry M16s or whatever we're carrying now, or the best girls that can do field medical services. They're looking for something much deeper, and wow, they might be sending them to other places than Afghanistan. And you've opened up a big Pandora's box, Jenny Constantine.
It's quite a rabbit hole, I'll tell you that. But it really does make sense when you think about it. I mean, if one just comes to terms with the idea that the nature of this world is, well, rather that the nature of the control structure of this world has always been interdimensional. They've had the knowledge of that. They just work very hard to keep that a secret from us. How closely linked, how close the natural world is also to these other worlds. Okay. So that's why a lot of these places are remote. So they go, there's places up in the mountains, there's places in the Black Forests of Germany. These are these people's headquarters, because they desecrate and misuse these beautiful, naturally occurring, places in the world, and they use them as gates. I want to know, we're jumping all over the place, but how do you feel about 5G?
That's a great question. And something just hit me too, Jenny. All of this, right now, the biggest fight, it's immigration, the wall, immigration, the wall, immigration. How much of that is, hey, look over here, while the real immigration is being off planet?
Oh God, I've been saying that too. As a South Floridian though, here, we have the Port of Everglades, we have the Port of Miami. These are nationally the largest ports that we have. Import, export, you name it. There are always freightliners out there, just with all kinds of stuff. It's a mess. But we are also right next to the Bermuda Triangle, which I happen to believe is a kind of jump off point for this.
Good point.
And a lot of it takes place over the water, under the sea. This is how
absolutely
they're able to sort of jump through, right? But yeah, so 5G, this is interesting because Donald Trump just tweeted. I don't know if you saw, but people are giving me a hard time because, as you know, I am a Trump supporter. I like Donald Trump as a person. I like him as a leader. I don't, he's not perfect, okay, but I didn't want to jump the gun with this.
I've been very hardcore Trump supporter, but to use a little pun, now I'm kind of on the wall with him a little bit.
Okay. Well, listen, that's totally okay. I admire anybody that has a healthy skepticism about.
But every time, Jenny Moonstone, I watch the guy, like I watched him the other day when he made the announcement about the emergency, and this stupid little pipsqueak piece of crap reporter jumps up and wants to get in the face of the president of the United States. They didn't do that to President Obama, and they shouldn't have done it to President Obama. And when this guy tries to tell Donald Trump, you don't know what you're talking about, there's no emergency. I love a guy that will look at these mothers whose children will never breathe again and say, oh, really? Look at those ladies right there and tell them it's not an emergency. And I love him when the guy says, but can I follow? No, sit down. That's what I love about Donald Trump.
Well, how can you not? I mean, how can you not respect that? So that's really what my thing is with the guy is like, listen, he's not perfect, but there are, just the other day, 500 arrests were made and countless children were rescued. And in the past 2 years, collectively, there have been thousands of arrests and thousands of rescued.
And I had a 30 minute conversation with him a few years ago, right?
Did you?
I did at Taj Mahal.
Wow.
And here's another thing. Again, maybe I'm a little starstruck, but I'm in Taj Mahal to interview for a job, not working for Trump, but we were going to do an off-site timeshare sales at Taj Mahal. And I go in there and I'm in the back office and I see back in the corner, here's Donald Trump. I'm like, Donald Trump. And I had brought my art of the deal just in case. Yeah. So I did. I had it. I had it in my hand. So I just walked up to him. Excuse me, Mr. Trump. I just want to come over and shake your hand. I got kind of flustered and I couldn't talk. And he just puts his hand on my shoulder, starts talking to me about golf and this or that for 15 or 20 minutes. I turn around and said, well, thank you, Mr. Trump. I won't take up any more of your time. He goes, you want me to sign that? Right. And it was the greatest thing. And he was just very natural, very open, very honest, very charismatic. But then again, so was Bill Clinton when I met him.
Right. Well, sure. I mean, charm doesn't say all that much, but it is, I think it's notable, and you just said it, it's notable to we have to pay attention to how he is treated by people in the media and how he's treated, in general by other politicians. They treat him as if he is an outsider. And Heidi Vandenberg and myself have talked about this at great length. And if you were to look at this from a purely astrological perspective, the common thread that the entire political spectrum shares is there. They all have this common thread. I believe it's a Aslasia. Okay, some kind of an alignment having to do with the snake, or Aslasia having to do with corruption and vices, and
Trump doesn't have that.
No. And from an astrological perspective, Trump reads like an outsider. Okay. And I like
And you know,
everything
Jenny,
about
it's not just the Democrats that hate Donald Trump. The
oh,
Republicans hate him too. And that's what makes me keep going back and say there's got to be something, because the whole system hates the guy from right to left. Now I know he's bought and paid for to the tune of $1 billion by those 72 bankers, and he's got some things he's got to do, but I just wonder how much leeway they've given him to do what he thinks is right and to do what he wants to do, as long as he gets that third temple built.
all right. I mean, we have to be realistic, and
Yeah.
there really is so much that he can do. I think if he had full, had the reins fully, I think we would be looking at a different, just all things different. But I wanted to try to get back to the 5G thing, because I believe it was just
And I don't
yesterday.
know what to think about it, Jenny. I'm not sure. I really don't know what to think about it. I don't worry about it. I
Mhm.
don't lay awake at night thinking about 5G. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
do. I do.
naive.
But I
Maybe I'm just, I just think that whatever it is, it can't hurt me because I'm divine, I'm sovereign, and I'm free.
Well, I love that. I really do. And I echo those sentiments as well. In terms of, feeling like I'm strong, I can handle this. There's nothing that's going to overpower my senses or anything like that. But the thing about 5G is that it operates on a wave that interfaces directly with our systems, with our anatomical systems, with our the electromagnetic energy that we emit as well. So there is this kind of interface taking place that
Can I stop you one quick second and see if you can confirm something that I've read? I won't mention any names, but I heard this and I've studied it, and it seems like it's true that the country that is front and center in the development of 5G, and the country that is most responsible for the advancements in 5G, will never have 5G.
yes, Israel.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
that is what I've heard. Yes.
And that makes you wonder.
It does. It does. It makes me wonder. It's very scary. I do kind of lay awake about it more so than a lot of other topics. Like, I'm not scared of vaccines or GMOs because I have control over my little sphere here, so I can protect my children from those things. However, 5G as a legacy is something that our children and their children are going to have to contend with. Now, there is something I would like to say about 5G that you might find interesting. So just yesterday, and I was tagged in a whole bunch of posts about it, because as a public Trump supporter, people really, come to me to try to hold him accountable, as if I can just answer for him. Like, I don't for him, right? But he did come out and say that he was excited about the 5G and 6G introduction, that the United States needed to not only be part of the 5G evolution, but we needed to lead the way with 5G. Now, honestly, the only justification that I can make for this kind of a tweet, knowing the dangers of 5G, is that he is playing what we call 5D chess. Okay. And so we know, and he knows, that anything that he publicly is in support of, if he goes ahead and makes a tweet in support of puppies and kittens, the left is going to come out and say puppies and kittens need to be banned. Okay.
You're the only other person I've ever heard say that. If Trump came out for puppies and kittens, the left would be against puppies and kittens.
So I tend to believe that he is utilizing what I call it the horde. Okay. They're the horde. And he's using their collective anger and their collective psychosis, perhaps as a means to introduce 5G into the conversation and to get them to rally against it. Because he knows if he comes out in support of it, the left is going to go ape shit, pardon my language, and rally against it. So there's that possibility that he's just that much of a genius.
Or maybe he just sees the jobs that rolling it out will create and how that'll help the economy.
I mean, that's possible, but I think that the dangers of 5G far outweigh the benefits. But that, again, 5G perhaps is only a tool. I can't claim to completely understand the nature.
So it actually interfaces with our anatomical structures. And what does it do?
Well, I mean, that remains to be perfectly clear to myself as well. But when something operates on a wave that we can't see, and there are no long-term studies on the effects of this have been done because it's brand new, and in these small pockets of the population that they are testing this out, parents are reporting that their children have nosebleeds, they're dizzy, they're disoriented, they're acting out of character. And I'm thinking, oh Lord, just what we need. You know what
Yeah,
I
but
mean?
can they download Beyonce faster?
Sure. Yeah. They can watch, Bruce Willis and Will Smith, and all their stuff is going to be super fast. You can send an email at the speed of light, but you're not going to be able to have babies, when you come of age. You're not going to be, you're not going to be able to get it up or whatever the
And
case
again,
may
you
be.
hit on that again. And I mean, what is the long-term strategy is population control. And it's pretty impolitic to kill people. I mean, how many people can you take out with a faked rapture? Maybe 1 billion, but that still leaves 6 billion others. And the easiest way, if you're a strategist, to get world population where you want it is just to stop reproduction.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, right. You say it all the time. And I think I even used it recently on a show, and I might have brought up your name. Say Jeff Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, says this all the time, that we're the last generation of real humans.
Absolutely.
I really believe that to be true, which is why the children, the current generations of children, the babies, all the way up to this, 17-year-olds and the young adults as well, there's a war on for the children. It's not about you and me anymore. We're old. We're done. Okay. The war.
Really? You don't think they worry about us anymore?
I don't know, because we're going to die off, but our children are going to continue to breed, and the vaccine schedule has increased like some ridiculous percentage. I only got a few vaccines as a kid. Now the vaccine schedule is, so I really think that they're trying to get way, way ahead of the curve here and try to inundate everybody's systems with all kinds of.
Here's a factoid that'll help you, Jenny. Robert, a USN vet, third generation, very high tech guy in a very high tech industry. We don't want to talk about who he is or what he does, but he speculates, and when he speculates in this type of thing, it's with great accuracy and expertise. He says 5G technology, and we've been talking about it. Here it comes full circle. 5G tech used to screen DNA. So you can imagine that technology can be used for many agendas.
Oh yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. They want to know who they're dealing with. They want to know what we're thinking, what we're doing, what we're planning, what are the possible choices we're going to make are. And that's why I feel like it teams so it works in tandem with AI. So AI can scan our thoughts, predict our thoughts, and 5G can work us like a puppet and have, do whatever it wants us to do. Now, this is one thing I wanted to run by you because I can't wait for to hear what you say. But I'm sure you've heard of CERN, okay? Hadron Collider, and it actually takes up a much bigger portion of the land out there. It's just all underground. So we just see, a couple of structures on the surface, but it goes underground and it stretches for miles and miles. CERN relatively recently opened up a contract with the United Nations cultural programs, international cultural enrichment programs. Okay. So we know the United Nations is simply the global so there's a galactic council where all of the, the ETs and their races talk up here in their galactic council. Now we have.
This is real, Jenny.
This is real. Okay. I mean, if you want to get my sources, you're going to have to dig around because I mean, a lot of this is just things I know to be true.
I love it. Don't spoon feed anybody, Jenny. Make them work for it.
Yeah, I had to freaking work for it. You know what I mean? I wore all of this like a badge of honor since I was a little kid. And people were like, what the hell are you talking
Ever since you got kicked out of the Marymount School for troubled children in Rome.
I got in so much trouble. I yelled at a guy, and it was so unlike me to do that, but I yelled at a music teacher. He said, he came into the classroom. He said he was going on vacation to London. And I said, we're not going to miss you, or nobody's going to miss you. And I was stood up, and my teacher was belligerent with me. And she said, march after him and apologize. And I did. And I hung my head, and I was like, damn, I shouldn't have said that. That was embarrassing. Why did I say that? Now I'm in trouble. Anyway, a couple of years goes by, come to find out that guy was a pedophile and molested.
You just knew.
I knew.
How old were you at this time, Jenny?
I was in 4th grade.
Why does that surprise me?
I was in 4th grade. I had a really dumb.
Did you give him a little bitty baby middle finger?
Little baby one, right? No, I just yelled and I meant it. And I was like, I freaking knew it. I knew he was a total crap.
Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible.
It's a real piece of shit.
So, I'll just throw this out there. 23andMe, find out where you're from, all that stuff. Do I really need to send in my DNA to 23andMe, or do they already have it from a million different sources?
Well, I think they don't have, obviously, I don't think they have enough. They need something,
Good
they
point.
need something up to date because their technology has also improved probably within the last 5 to 10 years. So they're like, no, we need everybody, everything. Because I guarantee you, they know that there are enough awakened people on the surface population that are hiding treasured genetics from them. They don't want them to know. I think that there are pockets of resistance in the surface population. They know enough and they're saying, nope, can't touch these guys, can't touch them. We're not going to let you guys know. So now there's a campaign. But listen to this. Okay, so CERN has a contract with this cultural enrichment program with the UN, the United Nations, which is really just this horrible network of evil, evil counselors here. And so what they have done is they're constructing 1,000 arches in major cities all across the world. And there is a deadline for all of these structures to be complete, which I believe is 2022 at the latest. And I believe that this is very much synced with the 5G global network because the 1,000 points of light. We've heard George Bush Sr.,
Yep.
We've heard him talk about 1,000 points of light for years and years and years. 1,000 points of light, I believe, has always been a metaphor for the 5G plan, the 5G rollout.
Whoa.
1,000 structures. Listen, this is the kicker, is that CERN contracted the United Nations to go to these countries where they had altars, these exact altars where people were sacrificed to their dark gods and blood has been spilled on these altars. The United Nations is now carbon copying, carbon printing exact replicas of these structures and erecting them in major cities all across the world. And I feel like this is just what they're trying to do, is resurrect what I believe to be an ancient Atlantean network or a motherboard on the surface. And this is just, I think they're going to utilize 5G to activate this network through these dark portals. And
yep, that's what they are, Jenny. They're portals. There's more to it than that. They're portals.
They are portals. And so
that means off-world.
Off-world. I want to stay on this world. I don't want to leave. I don't want to go anywhere else. I'm not that quick to abandon this planet. I feel like I'm here for the planet, of the planet.
Again, Jenny, when I was doing that show that you referenced about the classes of people that are here, what are we here for? What are we doing? I got that overwhelming sense that I'm not supposed to leave here. I came here on a rescue mission. I came here with some other badass dudes and chicks that we're here to save this place. We're here to resurrect this place. Mm-hmm. And I'm like you, I'm not so quick to bail out anymore. I mean, I'm not so sure that I want to leave anymore.
I don't either. I don't want to go anywhere. This is where I was born. My children are born here. The most comfortable and happy that I am is in the natural world, right? Yep. Right out here in the forest with the lakes and the mountains and the rivers and the ocean. This is our home. And, that's just how I feel.
Have you ever seen the movie Oblivion?
I haven't.
Tom Cruise, Morgan Freeman, you got to watch it. I'm sitting here thinking, how the hell did this movie get made? Because they're telling us all this stuff. And Tom Cruise has this line when he goes, and I'm not going to give you you want to watch it. He says, everybody dies, but not everybody dies well. Mm-hmm. And I like to think that everything I needed to learn to get back to the divinity I learned by watching Star Trek. And when you remember all this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, as all this stuff hits you, remember to be like Captain Kirk. Jenny, I don't know how much you know about Star Trek, but what's the first thing Captain Kirk always did when he even smelled trouble? What's the first thing he always did?
I'm not a Trekkie. I'm sorry.
He raised the shields.
Oh, okay.
So do what Captain Kirk does. Raise your shields. Keep yourself aware. Keep looking. Be like Jenny's saying. They do not love us, like Rex says. They do not love us so much. And Jenny, is the time coming, and I know we need to wrap up, is the time coming where we're going to have to go underground? Not literally underground, but I mean, is the time coming when we can't do this anymore?
Well, here's what I think. I think that all that exists underground is going to come up.
Rocky Stucci, shut up.
What did he say?
He's like, oh God, here we go again with the Star Trek.
Okay. That's fantastic. Yeah, I've never got into Star Wars or Star Trek. I don't know.
That's because Star Wars isn't real.
Oh, right. But Star Trek is real. That's awesome. No, okay. So the underground networks, of which there are many, I do subscribe to the idea of Hollow Earth. Okay. I do believe.
I do too.
I just do. I think it's a beautiful subject matter, one that I would love to discuss with you in the future.
Well, we need to do it.
I mean, when you talk about home and you talk about this planet and the consciousness and the intelligence of this planet, I feel so supported constantly because I feel very much that I have family and friends kind of on the other side of all of this that are assisting humanity. So people have this defeatist mentality. Oh, it's all over and we might as well just drink up and smoke up and have reckless, this and that because it's all over.
Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we perish. It's in the Bible.
Yeah. I'm not with that. I don't believe
No, I'm not with it either.
True. But your question was, are we going to have to go underground? And I say no. Their plan, the evil elite's plan, is for the environment to be so unlivable, unmanageable that they are forced underground and the survivors of some massive cataclysm are going to be forced to go underground. I don't believe that to be the case. I think what is underground will be made known, in whether that be through.
So it's another psyop. It's another mind game.
I think so.
That's great. Jenny, as you mentioned this, I'm thinking for the last 31 days in a row, I'm out here in the Midwest right now. And I guess the average temperature has been about 16 to 20. And I'm living on this lake, and the lake temperature is 31, 32, 33 degrees. So every day for the last 31 days, I've gone out there. Most days I have to bash a hole through the ice. Some days I don't. And I've been dunking myself under this water, Jenny. And for the first 28 days, it was all I could do to get out and stop screaming something that starts with an F and rhymes with duck over and over and over. But the last couple of 3 days as I've been under there, and only you, someone like you will understand this, as I've been under there for 30 seconds, maybe a little more, I can hear the earth talking to me. Mm-hmm. Imparting knowledge to me, imparting wisdom to me, whispering things into my ears and into my consciousness.
I love it.
And sometimes you got to go under the damn water to get a good connection with your mother.
Well, water, I mean, listen, I'm a triple water sign. Water is the physical manifestation of what I believe is all psychic energy, all consciousness energy. So it's a powerful place to be. And I'm even sure that somewhere in the Bible or somewhere in the various texts that we have from all the different cultures and all the different religions is that to get the knowledge, you have to get uncomfortable. To learn a certain amount, to see, to hear, to feel, you have to enter into the cave. You have to plunge into the cold water.
And you get that, and then all the other SHIT can be flushed.
Yeah.
And now you can say, oh, I get it. I hear it.
A personal mentor of mine, some of you have heard me talk about him before, Franz Barden. He was a huge advocate. He was a huge advocate for cold water.
I did not know that.
Cold water. And this was practiced by, the adepts of the Eastern mystery religions. All of the mystery schools are adamant about the cold water and that what takes place within the body when we immerse ourselves in the cold water, there's something that happens. So it's a powerful tool, and I'm proud of you for doing that because I wouldn't.
And one of the things that it does, Jenny, is remember we had wasn't that long ago, we had the What to Do After You're Dead down in Clearwater.
Yeah, that's right, Clearwater.
When we leave these bodies, it's going to be this massive shock of, and we're going to freak out and not know what to do. And when I went under that water for the first time, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
But now as I continue to go under it on a daily basis, now I still feel the same shock, but I can retain my divinity, my sovereignty, my freedom. Discipline. And pardon me?
It's discipline.
It's getting me ready for when I leave this body, that I'll be able to go where I want to go and do what I want to do and be able to keep my head about me and make a rational decision and not be herded with the rest of the horde into a place where some other being that doesn't have my best interest, my divinity, my sovereignty, my freedom in mind.
Mm-hmm. The light at the end of the tunnel, huh?
Yep. You know what? I am the light. I'll make my own light. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Jenny, I almost said Jenny Moonstone, but I'll say Jenny Constantine. Tell us again where we can find all of your information. And if someone, do you still do personal readings for people?
I do. I very much do. I actually transitioned from professional, the professional world where I was, getting up in the morning, going to a job, that sort of thing. I transitioned from that into doing readings full time. So this is my trade. This is my passion. So please, anybody, if you're interested in getting a reading, I seriously encourage you to go to my website and to go
JennyMoonstone.com.
JennyMoonstone.com. I do tarot, but I don't exclusively do tarot. I have had it to where people are not comfortable with tarot or that system does not resonate for them. So they choose to do a purely psychic reading, which is totally fine by me and quite a challenge that I enjoy. I really do enjoy pushing the limits of it. I have undergone psychic training. I am certified, and I do this all the time. So it's funny, with any trade, you consistently get better. So I'm a different reader now than I was a year ago. And it's just the things that I learn and the things that I'm able to reveal to people. It's just so much fun, and it's such a powerful tool. Also, if you guys are interested in astrology readings, I suggest everybody go over to Channel 27 and try to book a session with Heidi Vandenberg. She is amazing. So yeah, JennyMoonstone.com. My YouTube channel is Jenny Constantine. I'm also more active on Facebook than any other. I've backed off Twitter because Twitter is just so violent. I feel like Twitter is.
And when working with Heidi, you do need to have your exact birth time.
Yeah. I shouldn't forget to say that unless
someone asked.
Yeah. Unless you need to have your location, your time of birth, all that in order to get an accurate.
You gotta have the time. It just doesn't work without the time. I do the cards of truth and it just doesn't work right.
Yeah. So the time just doesn't work right.
And I'll say this about you, Jenny. I've known a lot of tarot readers and I've watched a lot of tarot readers. Yes, the time and date and place of your birth. And Jenny, you are by far the most intuitive card reader that I've ever seen.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's very powerful.
I really appreciate that. I started readings purely from an intuitive psychic perspective. Okay. So I would go based off only my impressions that I was getting, the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions, all of that stuff. And then my task is then to rattle off or articulate what it is that I'm getting from somebody's energy. But when tarot came in as my chosen system of divination, that really gave me this awesome language. It gave me a code to read. There's alchemy, there's astrology, there's numerology, there's all of these systems that are so revealing and mirror to us various aspects of anybody's situation. So it's a lot of fun. I guarantee you'll have a good time. I always try to make it fun and enjoyable. So please.
And you used to piss me off, Jenny, because you would get the stuff from just intuitively from the cards. I had to study those damn things and know what that card means and know what that symbol means. I'm like, and she just knows it off the top of her head. It made me mad at first.
Well, you know how it is with everything, practice, and you have to. I was really consistent. I hit the books for a long time. I read the cards for years before I actually started to accept any kind of payment whatsoever for reading them, and purely based on my not feeling like I was good enough. I was like, I can't. Who do I think I am? But then I realized I'm pouring so much energy into this. I am certified. I have gone through the training. So why not? Right. So now this is my passion. This is my trade. I really enjoy it. And I think your audience in particular is open-minded enough to actually enjoy the experience and not run away crying from the experience. So I look forward to that.
Absolutely. But folks, you got to make sure that you get Jenny to promise you something first before you ask her for a reading. You have to get her to promise to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, no matter what she sees. Because sometimes Jenny is too nice and she sees things. I'm just joking. I guess she did this with me one time. She didn't want to tell me all of the dirty details.
Well, we were live on the air.
We were.
So yeah, no. So
I'm just joking, totally joking.
Know, of course. It's just super funny because I am very tactful in my delivery. Because I've had a bad experience with a reader many years ago. She gave me a prediction, a horrible prediction, and it bothered me for years because I know that the power of the human mind. A suggestion is a very powerful lead, so somebody could manifest this undesirable timeline based on some bogus prediction. So I'm very tactful, but yeah, Jeff is that was funny. That was live. I wasn't super excited to reveal the whole truth in that moment, but
Jenny wanted to say, run now, but she couldn't.
No, it was not appropriate. But
so Jenny, I think in closing, you would join me in encouraging everybody that's watching us, not only to get a reading from you, but to find and develop some type of personal divination practice that they resonate with.
Oh my God. Yeah. The whole point, I tell everybody, you don't need to get a reading every other week, every other month. This is a confirmation. Everybody on some level knows their own truth. They know if their partner is lying. They know if their job is not right for them. They know that they're either aligned or not aligned with their ultimate purpose or with their potential, right? But when people really come into contact with a system of divination that resonates for them, it's like you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach a man to fish, he'll eat forever or something to that effect.
Exactly.
And that's really what this is. This is giving people on a very individual, personal level a system, a means of empowerment where it's like, wow, nothing really needs to be secret.
Confirmation.
Nothing needs to be secret. Nothing needs to remain hidden. A lot of the stuff is an open book. It's a book. So,
You know what, Jenny?
Yeah.
We ascribe to the gods, all knowing, they're omniscient, they know everything. You know why they know everything? Because they use their own divination tools.
Right. Because they know tarot and astrology.
Exactly. Right. It's the truth. Jenny, it has been delightful. We've had a lot of good shows together. This might be the best one that we've had. And why do we wait so long in between?
I don't know. I really don't know. Because it's fairly painless. I mean, I don't get nervous. I mean, the hardest part for me is to find the times. I have 3 children.
Yeah.
And I have a husband and the house and things like that. But really the hardest part is doing the hair, the makeup, the light. I have to make myself presentable.
You do. So I have no children, but I am a child, so I struggle with that. Jenny, it's been fantastic to have you here. I hope that we can do it again very, very soon. Thank you so much to everybody in the audience. Great questions, great participation. And once again, JennyMoonstone.com. Skip Starbucks for a couple of weeks and get that done. You will thank yourself and you'll thank Jenny for the rest of your days, I promise you, and it will empower you. Jenny, thanks so much. And sit right there for a second. Let me say goodbye to you personally, please. To all of you in the chat room, again, as Jenny reminded you, we are the last generation of real humans. Let's unindoctrinate ourselves.